One thing that'll help page load speed up is if I store the image geometry along with the image and use it to create HTML that's pre-sized. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to the database. Localhost, phpMyAdmin. In the images table of share, structure, I'm going to add 2 columns, and let me go ahead and put them after the size. So there's going to be a width and a height, and they're both going to be integers. And then in my shared database, at the bottom where I insert image, it's going to take size, width, and height. And then I'm going to also add those keys. So let's go ahead and create an images table constant. So there are my columns. And then for this one, I'm going to create variables for MIME type, size, and data. And I'm also going to create a variable for the images table. And 2 new ones for width key and height key. And then I'm going to use those in the query, insert into images table. And this is MIME type key and size key, and data key. And I'm also going to include width key and height key. So I added two more parameters. So this is IIB, and now this is the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4th parameter is data, and the rest is the same. So then this is called from image in the constructor. So before I call insert image, I'm going to want to get the image geometry, and I'll use image magic for that. So size, and then d sub width, and d sub height. Okay, so let's go ahead and try that. Let me go back to the main page, and I'm going to drag and drop this test image. Okay. Did I get an error? Let's see. Nope, it just took a long time. So let's see what I got for the response. Oh, that was get username that I got the response for. So let me hit OK again. Upload file. MySQLi statement bind param number of elements and type definition string doesn't match number of bind variables. So I forgot to add the new parameters in that call. Size, width, and height. So let's try it now. Now it works. So let's go ahead and reload the database, or browse actually. We'll go browse. And this new one is 401 pixels by 385 pixels. And that's not actually right. I have to coalesce the image first. So let's go back to image. Okay. Now let's try it again. And we'll browse. Great, 500 by 500. So that's correct now. So none of these images have widths and heights, so I'm going to go ahead and clear them out of the database, since I don't actually need them anyhow. And I have a couple more. Okay, so I just have the one that has the correct information on it. So we also need to add a thumbnail version of the image, and I'm going to put that in ImageSet as well. So here's create page image from source image, create thumbnail image, source image. And this is going to be really similar to what we did for creating the page image, except we're also going to crop it. So start by copying all of that. And for a rectangular image, what we want to do is we want to make the narrowest dimension 128 pixels. And therefore, the wider dimension will be greater than 128 pixels. And so we're going to crop off the edges. So we end up with a square that's 128 by 128. So the first step is going to be up here. We're going to check if d sub width is greater than, actually less than, or equal to d sub height. That means that the image is taller than it is wide. So we want to make sure that the width of the image is scaled to 128, or actually thumbnail image width. Actually, I only want one of these. I'm just going to have thumbnail size here instead. And that's going to save me some work in having to adjust these things for aspect ratio and do some division and so on. So thumbnail size 0. So the width gets expanded to 128. The height is whatever it needs to be to keep the same aspect ratio. Else, we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to scale the height and use whatever width is required to keep aspect ratio. So this scales the narrowest dimension down to 128. Then we also need to crop each frame. To crop the image, what I'm going to do is, if the image is narrow, then I'm going to slice off the top and bottom. So the first thing I want to do here is get the image geometry again after the adjustment. And then I'm going to use frame pointer crop image, and the destination size is 128 by 128. It's actually ImageSet : thumbnail size twice. And this is going to get a little long, so I'm going to format it like so. And then the amount that I want to crop off the top is going to be thumb D sub height minus 128. And then that whole thing over 2. Okay, so the starting X position is 0. The starting Y position is half of the amount that needs to be cropped off to make it fit in thumbnail size. And then I set image page as before. So that's the narrow and tall image. Here, I have the wide and short image. And this is all going to be the same except here the starting Y position is going to be 0, but the X position is going to be thumb D width minus thumbnail size over 2. So I think that should work. Let's go ahead and test that. And I'm just going to change my test image set here to call create thumbnail image. And then I'm going to go back to the browser, go test image set. And there's the thumbnail version of my animated GIF. And if I inspect it, it's 128 by 128 pixels. So let's also try a slightly larger single frame image. And that's going to be the JPEG. I have the cat picture here. Oh, not quite. Let's make sure that I actually have a file. Test image 3.jpg. Just to make sure, test image 3.jpg. Okay, so that's not working. Let's go ahead and put a breakpoint here. Enable debugging. Reload. And we'll step. So we have the data. New image magic. Read the blob. And then we'll step in. Coalesce the images. Get the geometry. 3000 by 2000. That was, right, so width is less than height is here, so that means height is greater than width here. So first frame will scale So we're scaling the height down. So that's correct. And then oh, we're missing the line that calculates thumbd, that's why. There we go. So that should do it. Let's turn debugging off, reload, and there we go. So there's our thumbnail version of the image.